Can you feel it? It's Derby season. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Trust the Profits YouTube page. My name is Colin Sheehan, and this is the Kentucky Derby Prep Briefing Show. We've been with you since the start. This is a quick news segment to just give you a little sense of what's been happening on the Derby Trail and also what is coming up. And this weekend is the first real true Kentucky Derby Prep race, which is worth 20 points. But first, it is also the first race of the Tour de Force. That's right, round one is the Lecomte Stakes. And if you haven't signed up yet, you can find it in the description below how to sign up. But basically, you get one $100 mythical bet for each Derby prep race. Even if you're not playing, I'd like you to answer in the comments below how you would spend $100 on one bet in the Lecomte. There's weekly prizes and then there's an overall prize. You have to decide if you're going to try and go just $100 straight trifecta, maybe do a $50 exacta box with two horses. It's totally up to you with how you're going to spend that $100 on one bet for the Lecomte Stakes. It's exciting and it's something to be a part of. What I always like to do before we get into this year's Lecomte Stakes is I always like to take a look back and refresh my memory on what's happened in previous years' Lecomte Stakes. Here's a list of previous winners, including going back to 2007. You had Hardspun. You had the 2013 Preakness winner Oxbow. And Instilled Regard had won this race back in 2018, who finished fourth in the Kentucky Derby. Then I also like to take a look at last year's Lecomte, because last year's had some eventual star power. Look at second place there was Epicenter, who was the co-favorite with Papa Cap. Papa Cap was a really morning line favorite based on the early speed he had shown in the previous race. And you also had Cyberknife finishing sixth in last year's Lecomte Stakes. So you never know what you're going to see. In general, you're going to see some horses that will continue along and end up in the Derby. Here's an updated look at the Kentucky Derby standings. And in this year's Lecomte, you have some horses that have already gained points, including your fifth place points right there with Instant Coffee, who has 12. Dennington is the 18th with fourth. And in 22nd, you have Echo Again, who gathered 3 points. Of course, was disappointing in the Springboard Mile. Speaking of Confidence Again, I'd like to show you some video here. Confidence Again has a victory at 1.16 miles, which is something that you're always interested in at this point, is can horses stretch out as they've started to get the 6 furlong wins under their belts. Confidence Game has earned 1 point. He did that in the Iroquois with a 5th place finish. But last race at Churchill Downs was what makes me look forward to Confidence Game with this great stretch effort against Rocket Can. And also 10 days later was the horse closing here to his outside. Confidence Game will have James Graham up, sired by Candy Ride, trainer Keith DeSormo. And this is just a really impressive victory here in the stretch as he holds on for that victory. Another horse that I am interested in seeing back from the Lecomte. We'll give you up the field here, and there you can see the entire field with Confidence Game in fourth. Tappett's Conquest is number 5, and Instant Coffee is the number 7. As I had mentioned, Instant Coffee's on that board with the points. But one horse that I am really interested in seeing run back here is Tappett's Conquest. He's making his 3rd start, and similar to Confidence Game, in his last race is what's making him intriguing for me in this race. This is the video of that last race. He broke his maiden October 1st at 1.16 miles. He's coming out of the Brad Cox barn, and also Florent Giroux is aboard. 2 connections that you really need to take note of, as they have been winning just about everything that they have been entered into. This was an impressive score for Tapit's Conquest. And I'm really intrigued since we've only seen him 2 times. I'm very interested to see what he looks like on his 3rd time out. Number 6, Itzos ran on 11:26. That was that 2-year-old day at Churchill's Downs when it was all 2-year-old races. He lost the Gun Pilot, who lost the Verifying this past weekend. But then he broke his maiden at Turfway Park. The interesting thing about Itzos was he was purchased for $1.4 million. A very expensive purchase. We'll see if they can make some of that back. As we take a look, not only on the Colts side, but on the Phillies side, there's 2 new names that are on the Oaks standings. You have Occult in 2nd with 20 points, and Ice Dancing. Ice Dancing lost her first 3 races to And Tell Me No Lies. Went back to break her maiden at Del Mar, and then won a small 5-horse field in the Santa Ynez. Lands in 5th place with 12 points. Also had picked up 2 points in the Chandelier Stakes in October. Occult wins the Buscanda Stakes at Aqueduct as a 7-5 favorite, earning 20 points. This race, run at 1 mile and an 18th, was the first race in which a winner gets 20 points. You also saw Gambling Girl out of the Todd Pletcher barn there in 3rd, and who picked up 3rd in the Demoiselle, easy for me to say. An Affirmative Lady out of the Graham Motion barn, who also finished 2nd in the Demoiselle. They both picked up some points. At Fairgrounds, though, we have the Silver Bullet Day Stakes being run at 1 mile and 70 yards. It's important to note that this race is worth 20 points to the winner, 8 to 2nd, and then 6-4-2 for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Brad Cox sends out the Alley's Look, who ran well in the Untappable behind Pretty Mischief, and Chop Chop, who has Florent Giroux aboard. Chop Chop went off, remember, as your favorite in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly. Finished last place, 14 lengths behind Wonder Wheel. It's important to take note that Giroux is riding Chop Chop over the Alley's Look. Sometimes you want to pay attention to where the jockeys are going, and especially when it's Florent Giroux riding for Brad Cox. If you recall, Chop Chop was the horse that started twice on the turf before finishing 2nd in the Alcibiades behind Wonder Wheel, which was what ended up making Brad Cox interested in putting her in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. 2 others returned from the Untappable Stakes. That is Cotton Candy Annie and Hey Un Avenau. I don't know how to say this one. I should have looked that up before I tried to roll it off my tongue here. But that's the number 3. Nora G, in the number 1 there, has been racing against State Bred Company at 5 and 6 furlongs, so certainly taking a step up here. Number 7, Forest Chime, is interesting. 2nd race after breaking the mating at 1 mile and a 16th at Fairgrounds on New Year's Eve, winning by 7.5 lengths. So certainly an interesting horse there you might want to pay attention to. Also, don't just pay attention to these 2 races on Saturday at Fairgrounds. There's actually 10 races for 3-year-olds, and race 9 features Banishing and Determinedly, who finished 3rd in the Gun Runner. And also there's another horse in that race that I'm really interested by the name of Tappet Shoes. No surprise, also coming out of the Cox barn. Check out the Lecomte Stakes full field rundown that me and El Hombre did. It's here on the Trust the Profits page. And we'll be back next week with an update on what happens in the Lecomte. We'll give you an update on the Tour de Force to see if anybody was able to put together that $100 bet. And until next time, my name is Colin Sheehan. You can find me at CSheehan45 on Twitter.